May 8, 1970, an injured Willis Reed made a dramatic entrance for the final half of the final game of the 69-70 season. At stake was a world championship for either the Los Angeles Lakers or the New York Knickerbockers. The Knicks, who had gone an incredible 24 years without a world title, and their loyal fans felt they deserved better. For Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor, playoffs were commonplace. The Lakers had reached the finals in 5 of the last 6 years, but they had always lost to the now dethroned Boston Celtics. New York coach Red Holtzman hoped that the Knicks could take over where the Celtics had left off. And late in this 7th game of the series, he got his wish. Playmaker Walt Frazier totaled 36 points and had an incredible 19 assists. But more importantly, this final game was a tribute to individuals who had become a team. With only seconds remaining, Willis Reed left the game as the NBA's and the New York fans' most valuable player. The drought was over. The Knicks had played over 1,800 basketball games in 24 years before they reached this pinnacle. Now, they were savoring every minute of it. They were putting the final touches on an unbelievable season. The NBA was heading into its 25th year, and they could not have wished for a neater pre-silver anniversary present than having the New York-based team win the championship. It focused nationwide attention on the sport and dispelled any doubt that pro basketball would escalate into the 70s as pro football had done in the 60s. One season later, 3 teams were added to the NBA. Buffalo, Portland, and Cleveland. But new or old, their objectives were the same: try and topple the Knicks from their throne in Madison Square Garden. Inside these walls, 19,500 loyal subjects would arrive every game to watch their heroes defend the new title. To follow is the story of that defense.
The Knicks moved into the 1971 season with the same style that had won them the championship only months before. No one needed a program to spot them because the team that had become the toast of New York remained intact. Despite the expansion draft, the champions were able to keep their top 8 men. They were a unique team where no one man dominated play. And the success they enjoyed was shared by everyone. Hitting the open man became their trademark, and discipline became their style. Always in the center of the action was their captain, Willis Reed, number 19. At 6 feet 11 inches, he is not the tallest center in the NBA, but he is perhaps the finest outside shooter of all the league's big men, and as such was again unstoppable. John Havlicek and the Boston Celtics were to find this out throughout the season. On March 6, 1971, they arrived in New York, and Mr. Reed quickly gave them a lesson in the art of his shooting. In a little more than 2 quarters, he scored 15 points and had Boston on the run. But the Celtics have a pride as deep as the Knickerbockers. The Cousies, Russells, and Joneses are gone, but a new crop has taken their place, and it seems only a matter of time before Boston comes back. Late in this game, they came within striking distance of the New Yorkers' lead 3 times. But each time they were repelled by the wizardry of another New Yorker, Walt Frazier, number 10. Boston coach Tommy Heinsohn had to witness a dazzling 39-point performance by Frazier, with 15 of them coming in the last quarter alone. The joyous New Yorkers first saw Reed, then Frazier, run Boston right out of their shoes. Frazier plays with such poise and confidence that it's hard to realize he's only 25 years old and only in his 4th year of pro ball. He led the 1971 Knicks in scoring with almost a 22-point per game average. But his greatest joy comes from playing defense and impromptu meetings with the official score. He was a unanimous selection on the NBA's all-defensive team. Timing and lightning reflexes are his tools. Once on offense, Frazier more often than not will give up the ball to a teammate, just to keep them happy, as he says. And perhaps the happiest of all is number 12, Dick Barnett, the deadliest shooter on New York's squad. Barnett is 35 years old, but that's only on paper. In the last 2 seasons, he has been the only Knick to have never missed a game. Joining Reed, Frazier, and Barnett are 2 of the most consistent forwards in basketball. Bill Bradley, number 24, is completely proven that he could adapt himself to pro ball from the scholarly courts of Princeton and Oxford. For the Knicks, he has been a man in motion, never stopping, never waiting. Many say that it's Bradley's mobility that opens up the Knicks' attack, and frequently it puts him on the receiving end instead of the giving. Dave DeBusschere, number 22, is at the other forward, and his addition 2 years ago completed the New York puzzle. His 15 points and 10 rebounds a game tell only part of the story, for the facts are there. Without Dave DeBusschere, the Knicks were also Rams. With him, they became world champions. The principal cast of characters were now set for the preview showing of what most experts thought would be the inevitable title clash between the Knicks and the upstart Milwaukee Bucks. New York had already won 3 of the 4 previous meetings, but Milwaukee was by far the winningest team in basketball. The Bucks had already wrapped up the Midwest Division, and New York needed this victory to clinch the Atlantic Division title. Dave DeBusschere started it off with the first of his 33 total points. Milwaukee had been led by center Lou Alcindor. And this game was no exception as he scored 21 points in the first half alone. The game gave each team a chance to test each other again. But as the time grew short, tempers shortened too. And it showed on the faces of the players, the coaches, and the lovable New York fans. Behind this background of bedlam in Madison Square Garden, the score was tied late in the game, and neither team could get the upper hand. Then the league's best defense finally made its presence felt, gave New York the chance to go ahead. First, a calm Dave DeBusschere set the pattern, directed traffic, worked his way in, and gave to Willis Reed for 2. Then another Frazier steal. And one more bucket by Reed, and the Knicks had made it 4 out of 5 over the winningest team in basketball. But most felt that Milwaukee would get another chance at New York in the NBA championship.
Having clinched the Atlantic Division, New York's superior bench was given a chance to really shine in the closing weeks of the season. Number 33, Cazzie Russell, was injured for almost a third of the year, but his spirit and talent still dazzled the fans and opponents alike. Mike Reardon, number 6, played in every game and came up with some equally amazing shots. But the true accolades must be saved for number 9, Dave Stallworth. In 1967, after a near-fatal heart attack, the big question was whether he'd even be able to watch another NBA game. And now, 4 years later, Dave was averaging 10 points a game as one of New York's dependables. The hustle of the New York bench set the tempo for the rest of the club. And from number 18, Phil Jackson, to little number 5, Mike Price, New York was ready and willing for the start of the 1971 playoffs. After 82 test cases, New York's reign as champions was truly on the line. And first to have a crack at it in the quarterfinals were the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta had played sporadically in the first half of the season, but mainly because of the improvement of rookie Pete Maravich, number 44, they finished exceptionally strong. The series evolved into a ballet of cat and mouse between the young offensive sensation Maravich and New York's brilliant defensive ace, Walt Frazier. Through 5 games, Frazier hounded Maravich until he finally surrendered the ball to his teammate, Walt Hazzard. But wherever Atlanta went, the Knicks followed with the defense that carried them so far. Now it was Bill Bradley on Lou Hudson. And then Reed on Walt Bellamy. Once on offense, Frazier showed the rookie one of the finest moves of this or any other season. The rest that New York's superior bench had provided during the latter part of the season was paying off, and Atlanta managed to beat the Knicks only once. Particularly inspiring was the mobility of Willis Reed. As Reed goes, so seem to go the Knicks. Big number 19 has been slowed recently by sore knees and a sore hip. Now on the last play, as the Knicks were wrapping up their 5th and final victory over Atlanta, Reed injured his shoulder in a freak collision with Walt Bellamy. New York, with an injured Willis Reed, now had to get by Baltimore before the showdown against Milwaukee came about. For Atlanta, the season was over.
The flashy orange-clad Baltimore Bullets were the Knicks' opponents in the semifinals. And Willis Reed found out early that between his sore shoulder and the aggressive Bullets, this series would prove much tougher than Atlanta. New York barely took the first game by a point, and that 1 point wasn't accepted graciously. Once the series moved to Baltimore, the Bullets came to life behind the dazzling antics of number 10, Earl Monroe. The Bullets and Knicks both won on their home court, but the effects of the long season were finally beginning to show on both teams. The great desire to succeed combined with tiring limbs to produce some wild and often painful basketball. The Bullets' Johnny Trezvant went down hard in the 6th game. Willis Reed's right knee buckled in the 7th. With the series now dead even at 3 wins apiece, the play got even rougher. New York held a 4-point halftime lead, which Baltimore got right back, but the tempers on both teams were getting tighter than the score. Coach Gene Shue's Bullets, with minutes to play, suddenly had the lead. New York was scrambling for every opportunity to come back, but the drain of their long championship year was showing through. The Knicks trailed by 3 points with 1.5 minutes to play. New York's fiery leader, Red Holzman, had been named NBA Coach of the Year after the Knicks won the championship 1 year ago. And like his players, he knew what it was like to be number 1, and like them, he wanted to stay there. After a New York free throw, Baltimore's Earl Monroe increased their lead to 4, and time was running out. Willis Reed cut the margin to 2 points. Then the Bullets killed as much of the 24-second clock as they could and took their last shot. With 11 seconds left, the Knicks called time. The entire season boiled down to one final play, and thoughts easily drifted back 1 year ago to that memorable occasion that started it all, the defeat of Los Angeles for the championship. That ecstasy lasted throughout the year, But now it was all on the line, and the Knicks began to work together for their last shot. Frazier handed off to Bill Bradley for a shot at the buzzer, but Baltimore's Wes Unseld tipped the ball, and it was all over. In this one final play, New York's reign as champions ended. The Knicks had wound up as the second winningest team in basketball, but it would be Baltimore meeting Milwaukee in the final. They had almost won it all again. It was as simple as that. They stood pat with the entire championship squad for the 71 season. For 1972, one change is going to be made. The popular Cassie Russell has been traded to the Warriors for their all-star forward Jerry Lucas. The 6'8" veteran has averaged over 19 points a game throughout his 8-year career, but his domination of the boards has almost been a bigger asset. With Lucas added to their impressive roster, the Knicks should again make a run at the top, for they have seen what it's like to be there, and New York's loyal fans can't wait.